Hey, and welcome back to the Me First Mindset podcast. On our episode today, I have David Appelson. He's talking about how choosing himself first and putting himself first has really led to the most health and wellness he's had over the last 6 years. He actually has a great story of weight loss and reclaiming his own body to talk with you guys about, and I can't wait for you to hear all of the ways that he has really put this into practice and it's translated into huge results for him. If you're interested in weight loss, this is a story just for you and how you can make this happen if you choose yourself as well. Here it comes.
My name is David Appelson. When you come to my profile, you're going to see things like motivation. You're going to see things like self-love. You're going to get ways to be inspired. I'm putting up content every single day, educational videos on the impact of exercise, the impact of health and wellness, the impact of self-love, and some things to make you laugh.
So my question for you, the first question I have for you is, what does it even mean for you to put yourself first?
That's a great question. In my life, I have found that when you constantly put other people first, you're giving a lot of your energy, which is great. And being of service to others is great. At some point, something has to give.
Mm-hmm.
If you keep giving, what's left? You have to fill your own energy as well. You have to have enough energy to give. So at least what I was starting to see was the toll it was taking on me,
Mm-hmm.
that I was constantly showing up for others, which felt great at the time, but I was running out of stuff to give and I wasn't enriching myself enough and in my own personal wellness and development journey to be able to even be the best version. Because it's not just about like giving, it's
Mm-hmm.
about what are you giving?
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not taking care of yourself, what type of advice and what kind of support and what type of encouragement is actually being funneled through you? So are you actually even giving the right type of energy? Are you even the right type of person at this particular time to support people in that way? So that's kind of what that means to me, is that if you're not taking care of yourself, you may inadvertently be providing help and support to others that isn't necessarily going to provide the enrichment that you're hoping for. And it can inevitably take a toll on you and what you actually have to give.
We see that so often in my profession as a coach, health and wellness, and also behavior and relationships, therapy, any of those service types of roles. We see that so often, right? Like I'm showing up as a really terrible, like low capacity version of me. And all of my stuff that I am trying to keep bottled up is just coming out in the way that I'm trying to serve my clients. And so what we see is that people who have this high need for giving end up really just wanting that in return. And you're right, we only have 100% of our energy. You don't get extra energy, you get only 100%. And so the more you give away, the less you have for other things like yourself. When you're looking at energy like that, everything is energy. Relationships are energy, relationship to yourself is energy. And when you're looking at relationship energy like that, it would make sense if you're trying to be effective, if you have impact in mind, that you reserve at least the first part of your energy for yourself so that your product, whatever you want to be in the world, ends up being good as opposed to the last thing that happens during the day. It makes so much sense. How do you specifically see that playing out in your life? What do you do to put yourself first?
So I find this is a perfect spot for me to kind of speak a little on my journey, and we can go as
Yeah.
far back as you'd like to. But I've been overweight like 80% of my life, and that's maybe undershooting it. And from being like an overweight child to adulthood, it's always kind of been there. And,
Mm-hmm.
and because of that, there was maybe a lack of getting exactly what you were saying, what I was giving. And I felt like I had to give more in some circumstances to get the type of appreciation or acceptance, because I didn't really totally accept myself in my
Right.
body. There's a lack of confidence that comes along with that. So as I approached my early 30s, my late 20s, early 30s, there were times where I had some success, but it wasn't doing the best methods. It wasn't necessarily doing it for the right reasons. It was more doing it because I wanted that
Mm,
attention. I wanted that appreciation from others. I wanted the, hey, look at me, look at what I'm doing. Like now I'm in better shape. Look, I finally am getting to that point, right? And that has since transitioned to when it ballooned up. I had my son. He got to age 2. I ballooned up to the highest I ever was at 305 pounds.
mm,
Like, how does this story end? And it's
mhm.
going to be 350 pounds. I hadn't gotten any blood work that said, hey, you better make a change or anything, but it was only a few pounds away, right? Or if I went another year like that, who knows what was bubbling underneath the surface.
Yeah.
Right? So that's when I decided, okay, all of this stuff that's going on externally, I need to draw that attention within and start doing a lot of deep work on myself. And that's where my journey began over the last 6 years of how I lost about 110 pounds to date.
And getting to that point, so you had a son, right? You've got somebody else that's relying on you. You have a relationship, and I heard you say like you're giving, even in early childhood, you're giving a lot because you're hoping to get something in return, and so a lot of your energy is going towards pleasing somebody else or fitting in or trying to be something for someone else. And really what that got you is what we would consider self-abandoning behavior. Like, I'm not even looking at what I need. And you got to the point where weight was the major indicator of disease. Like, I am not happy. So you were feeling off. You were feeling like this wasn't what you wanted. This isn't like the body that you were hoping to have. And at that moment, it led you to make a different change in your life.
That's absolutely right. And the best change I ever made, and the happiest I've ever been. And it's taught me so many lessons along the way. And the funny thing is that a lot of people, they tend to ask me, like, when did you get started? When did you get started? And I'm like,
Yeah.
I've been started my entire life. It,
Mm.
it, and that was a really interesting realization to me because I had to come to terms with the fact that there is no quick fix. This is not going to be an overnight thing. I've done plenty of the crash diets thinking 3 week challenge, 4 week challenge, 8 week challenge. Oh, I'm going to be in shape in 90 days, right? And all of these different methods of trying to get quick results. But I realized it's not that. It has to be long term, and you're going to fail, and that's okay. And you got to treat every single day as a new opportunity to prove to yourself that you're deserving, you're capable, and you're strong enough to do the deep and hard work and build the correct habits through gratitude, affirmations,
Mhm.
vision board,
Mm.
visualization, to get to all of those really healthy things with the mind to then leverage that into developing healthy habits for your body as well.
I love what you're saying because what we're really talking about is any action that we do, we can do it with the energy of for somebody else or for us. And the action might look the same. I'm trying to get healthier. I'm trying to lose weight. But when I do it for somebody else, if I'm putting the validation in someone else's hands, I'm only going to be good enough unless if they think that I'm doing this and that I'm measuring up to what they want. Unless and instead we put that in the validation in our hands, like I'm already good enough and I'm doing this because I'm already good enough. That is the entire difference in behavior. So when we're talking about how to make a good healthy choice for yourself, for your body, you have to start with actually caring about yourself and your body. If it's like I just want to be loved and I want someone else to love me for who I look like, that's a hard road and that doesn't stick. That there, like you said, there's all kinds of failure and it feels different to you. It's just this like yucky feeling of not, like almost self-loathing feeling that you can't sustain. It's not sustainable. When you get to the point where you're like, you know what, I deserve health. I deserve a capable body. I deserve to be able to be around for the long haul with my family, with my son. Then those choices come from a place that just feels like this is what I want. This is what I'm claiming for myself. This is what I need for me. And that makes all the difference.
Absolutely. And the day to day, I had to remind myself too, and it just kept ringing in my head as you were talking. I was listening to you, but it was ringing in my head as you were talking that I had to remind myself every day that I'm doing the best I can today. So the body I'm in today and the way my mind is today is the best it's going to be today. I may not
Yeah.
be happy with where I am now. However, I can be grateful for where I am now and happy I'm on the right track for where I'm going. So
Mhm.
it's constant gratitude for your previous efforts and lessons you've learned, being proud of yourself for the efforts you've done to date, but not necessarily being satisfied because
Right.
you know that you have to continue to go and to continue to make strides towards a better future. But I think
Mhm.
that when you have purpose and you're striving towards a better future while staying present, that's that kind of delicate balance. If you can hone that, then that can sustain you through really healthy health and wellness practices.
You're right. It takes two things, right? Like it takes a tolerance for self-love. You have to be able to be like, no, I'm doing it for me. But it also takes, like you were just saying, some compassion for who you used to be. Even in trauma healing, and most things, that go wrong in our lives are from some kind of emotional standpoint, and sometimes in our early childhood. And when we start to recognize that I was doing the best that I could even then, what led me to the highest weight I've ever had in my life? Well, the thing that led you there, it sounds like, was your desire to be accepted, your desire to be loved, your desire to fit in, your desire for community. And there's like a tenderness to just recognizing that, man, I was really just doing the best that I could. And that, like, if that were anyone else, if I were talking to somebody else in that experience, I would be like, wow, like that's hard, that's difficult, that's painful, that's impressive, that is, worthy of compassion. And so when you can onboard like the recognition of why we do these behaviors, it's not because I'm lazy, it's not because I don't have any self-control, it's not because I'm lacking discipline, it's because all of those disciplined things, all those things that I was working towards were working towards my ability to fit in, not my ability to be healthy. So that's
Mm.
the change. Like now I can onboard this compassion that allows me to be the person I am today and still strive for something better for myself because I deserve it, not because I'm trying to be anybody else.
Right, that's exactly right. It's just flipping the script a little bit. It's not to say that the external people in your life don't matter. The
Right.
the 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 consequence of you doing it the opposite way is you're not really in control because
Hmm.
when you are so dependent upon the world to reflect what you're looking for, you can't control the people around you. You can
Right.
influence, you can't control them. You can't control what happens in the world. You can't control natural disasters. You can't control how people react to you. So if you depend on things that are out of your control, then you're setting yourself up for failure. When you
Yeah.
can go within, you can control how you react to the world. You can control the work you put into yourself. You can control the version of yourself that you want to be and who you want to be
Hmm.
and do that deep work. And then in that way, you're setting up yourself for success and being an example, not just for yourself, but for your family, for others, showing people how they should take care of themselves or at least try to take care of themselves,
Right.
and showing your kids, your friends, your family members that it's okay to put yourself first, but not because you're putting other people second. You're doing it because as a result of doing that, you have more to give. It's almost like you are putting them first because you're putting yourself first. But when you do it the other way, the results might not be as intended.
Well, yeah, and it's sort of a double-edged sword. Of course, our entire being has to have community, and relationships are arguably the most important thing that we have in life. How we connect and interact with other people is the most important aspect of being in a human life. And so when we want to make an impact in our relationships and have, there's two sides of a relationship, there's you and the other person, and you're at least 50% of this equation. And if you are not showing up as who you are, there's no way we can have any connection. So if you really want connection, the felt sense of having a connection with somebody else, you've got to be able to understand who you are first. So you bring that into the relationship. And like you were saying, having the capacity to manage and tolerate your own feelings so that you can show up in a expansive, loving, connecting way with your family members only adds to that connection. If you are not in control of who you want to be, then yeah, things go sideways. Work relationships, everything stems from your relationship with yourself. If that's not dialed in, you cannot build anything else on that foundation. So you're not putting anyone second. You're actually holding those two truths to be the same. It's sort of like
Right.
that win-win kind of thing. I'm not first or second, they're not first or second, but we're equally important. And I have to start with me in order for this to be okay.
So absolutely so true. And I see that in relationships, in my own relationships all the time, where I feel like if if you aren't the best version of yourself, then you have to imagine wherever you are in your journey. And wherever you are is fine,
Yeah.
right? But that's where you are, right? And you take accountability. These are the choices and actions I've made to this point, and this is the version of myself that I am. You're going to attract people that want the version of you that you are today.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever those characteristics, good, bad, or indifferent, are, right? Your perception of good, bad, or indifferent, right? No, nothing's inherently good or bad, but perceived good and bad, right? So, but whatever that version is, that means that the people in your life that you're surrounded with are typically going to validate the actions and choices that you're making, good, bad, or indifferent. So,
Right.
because you're not going to surround yourself with a bunch of people that I mean, you could, and technically it's really a good idea to, but
Yeah.
that's you're not doing the right things. You're not doing the right things. You probably, because we like our comfort zones, be surrounded with people that are like, yeah, let's go party, let's go have some,
Right.
if that's what you like to do, or you're surrounding yourself with people that are like-minded interests that are supporting you in the things that you're doing today because that's your common interest. So if you don't actually like those things about yourself, or you think those things are harming yourself, then to move to surround yourself with other people that are going to bring you up to actually tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear.
Mm-hmm.
That is the thing that is so challenging, is to surround yourself with people and things and your social media feed, all with things of the person that you like to be, that is practicing the habits of someone you want to become as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to the person you are today. That version of you in the future will then bring and attract the relationships, the healthy relationships that you want into your life, so you can have better and healthy relationships, and hopefully you're with a partner that's willing to support you in that journey.
And I also like to say that that version of you in the future already exists now within you. You just have to give yourself permission to be it. Because the reason why we're not our best version of ourselves is because we're trying to please somebody else besides ourselves.
Very
I
true.
want to be that best version of myself. If I was able to, if I felt capable of it, if I felt secure enough and autonomous enough, I would do that more often. Well, that's the permission that you get when you listen to this podcast. Like, people are doing it. People are taking back their authority over their own choices and being the best versions of themselves, even when nobody else in the world is giving them permission to do it, because you only need your own permission to do that. My next question for you is, how did it feel for you in that moment of recognition? Okay, I have to make a change. Like, what were the challenges that you faced right in the first part of making this transition?
Well, I knew it wasn't going to make people happy.
Oh,
I knew,
yeah. Say more about that. Tell me why.
well, because some people are of the opinion of the opposite of what we're talking about today, that you shouldn't really put yourself first, that maybe the kids come first, or,
Yeah.
sick parents, your parents come first, or, and if you are starting to prioritize yourself, that's obviously going to create friction. It's
Mm,
going to create people that think that you might be being selfish, when you start to demand of yourself better and start to take more time to become better. And that can really damage some relationships. So I think, in my experience, it took courage. Looking back, it took an immense amount of courage to really make some very difficult decisions. It took me removing myself from some situations where I knew it wasn't going to be easy. I knew it was going to be
mm,
really hard. Um, but I knew there wasn't another way. It just, sometimes it's, you have to make you have to demand a difficult, very difficult choice,
Mhm.
knowing that, yeah, it might be really rough for a little while, or a long while. But on the other side of this roughness, there's a future for yourself that is going to be filled with a lot more joy. So it's kind of like the opposite of immediate gratification and long-term validation. It's like, the do I spend the money on the thing on Amazon now, or do I put it in the bank and save it for what I want later? But it's the reverse of that. You're going to have trouble, like, in the interim, right, where you're having the whatever the opposite of immediate gratification is, pain, and probably
Mm.
out of it early. But for that long-term success and feeling of you're taking care of yourself, you do better for yourself, that vision of a future that you really want. So you got to get through your stuff, and you got to find out, identify what is that stuff in your brain, and start to take a little deep dive and say, where can I fail here? And
Mm.
script out, okay, this is where I failed before the last times I've tried to do this, or in these situations. So that way, when those obstacles inevitably come up, your version of yourself has already kind of planned ahead and sought, where is the path out of this? And then no matter what, you have to have an undying resilience to push through all of the stuff, no matter how hard it gets, knowing that you're on the right path.
So your initial thoughts when coming to the realization that my weight is making me sick. I got here somehow. I want to get out of this. And looking forward into the path that you were going to have to take, choosing yourself. Your anticipation was the hardest part was going to be, how do I manage the relationships around me so that I don't disappoint them, right? Or maybe tolerating the disappointment. I'm going to have to be okay with people being upset with me and not understanding why I'm doing this. And I'm going to have to really get tough and realize that the only way I get back to health is by just not listening to anybody else's voice but my own.
To add a little color to that, it wasn't just that. There were some other circumstances that were difficult for me at the time, but it was an overhaul of life change. It was changing my surroundings. It was changing the people I was around that may not have been accepting of my current behavior, or may have enabled my current behavior, of eating or eating out, and different life choices that maybe weren't best. And being around people that like to do certain activities, like, going out and having a good time, which, look, go out and have a good time. I'm
For
not here
sure.
to dissuade anybody from having a good time. But when you get to the point where you realize, maybe this part of my life isn't right for me anymore, the people that you surround yourself with to that point are the people that are encouraging you to do the things that you're doing now. Or even if they're slightly discouraging you, maybe they're not discouraging you enough from the things that you're doing. And you have to start redefining your environment. If you wake up
Yeah,
and you're waking up to an environment that's not conducive for success, you have clutter everywhere, your car is cluttered, your house is cluttered, there's all this chaos, right? You don't have a plan. People aren't really supporting you in what you really want to do, but you're not willing to share that with other people. You're keeping it all inside. It takes something when you just shout to the world, like, this is me,
hmm,
unapologetically. I could be a mess, and that's okay, but I know where I'm going. And when
yeah.
you're going, there's a very locked in determination around that.
And it's true that in order for us to identify where we're going and then get there when we're at these kind of like pinnacle moments, one of the success strategies is making space for the new things. I'm, no longer going to be able, speaking back to this 100% energy, the only energy we have is 100%. I'm going to have to take energy from something else in order to get this new behavior in. If I'm going to be meal prepping, I need to stop eating out. If I'm going to be walking, exercising, doing some more things, I might need to be going to bed early and not going out to do other things. And so we're looking at, I like your idea of lifestyle design and looking at your environment. The first thing that you can do is say, okay, what in my environment is in my control that I can shift so that I can create space for this new version of me to even start to flourish. I mean, there's going to be so much watering necessary. There's going to be so much pruning necessary. But the first step is, what does my external environment look like? Who are the people in my corner? Where can I get rid of some things so I can make space and time and energy to be the person that I want to be going forward?
That's absolutely right. And it's not to say that you need other people to be successful
Right.
around you. You're dependent on yourself, but
It
there
helps.
is something to say. Like when you are surrounding yourself with information and people that are on the path you want to be on, it helps you learn.
Yeah.
It's those learnings, like, half the things that I say, probably more, is from other people that have also said very similar things or have done more than me, right? I've done more than a lot of people, but I've also not done as much as a lot of people. We're all
Mhm.
kind of chasing each other in different paths of where we want to get to. And some of those lines are parallel and some are perpendicular. So if you find the people that are like, wow, this person's doing a great thing, you don't want to compare yourself to them and say, oh, I'll never get there. You're self-defeating yourself. You want to look at them and say, they're on the right path. I'm going to celebrate their success. And you're constantly celebrating other people's success. There's a positive ball of momentum that starts to happen when you start doing good thing after good thing after good thing for yourself, because that doesn't mean you're not doing good things for others. It means
Mhm.
you start to feel better. You're going to start to do better. You're going to be a learner. You're going to be able to teach others and help others and support others by taking care of yourself. And then you'll be able to share, kind of like what we're doing today, sharing information so that wherever other people are on their path, whether they're further ahead than us, just picking up a gem or two here and there, or they're behind us, depending upon where they want to go, they're learning something and now they can implement one or two things in their lives and make positive life change.
Is there anything that stands out to you that has really helped you along the way? Any kind of tool or any strategy, organization, or anything that kind of pops up that has really helped you stay to the course when things got really tough as you're trying to choose yourself in those moments?
Think of like 300 things, but we don't have enough time for that. But I'm going to share one thing that I know is really critical.
Okay.
Some sort of task app or task list. Because what
Okay.
I will tell you is your brain can only hold so much. And you're going to want to start doing a lot. And part of habit creation is doing something every single day. Well, because your brain can only hold so much, and because you're trying to develop good habits, having daily repeatable tasks to help you stay on track of the things that you want to accomplish or do for your betterment, you can build on that. So what I started to do is, okay, I set one repeatable task, um, 5 minutes of meditation every day.
Mm.
Then once I mastered that, 5 minutes of reading affirmations. I would put a bunch of I am type statements. Believe it or not, this is kind of scary. It's 13 minutes of a listen long at this point, but it used to be just 3 or 4 lines. I am strong. I'm capable. I can do this. Like affirmation type statements. I would listen to
Yes.
them every day. Then it would be, okay, I'm going to practice gratitude. And I would write out 3 to 5 things that I'm grateful for every day. And these were daily repeatable tasks. So all I needed to do at that point was say, okay, brain, I don't care what you want to do this morning. Wake up, go to your tasks list, do the tasks. Wake
Hmm.
up, go to your task list, do the tasks. And that's what it became. And then I would just do them. And then I would check them off. And there's something really extremely validating about setting a task, doing the task, setting the task, doing the task. You become a doer and you do. And then after a while, you'll have so many tasks on your task list that you can start to remove some of the ones that are automatic. 6 months later, it'll be a part of you. You don't have to look at your task list for that thing. You don't need to be reminded to drink enough water a day. You don't need to be reminded to do 15 minutes of walking a day. You don't need to be reminded of you have to exercise first thing in the morning or make your bed or clean your closet and all of those things. But the thing that'll never go away is you becoming an expert at building positive momentum through effective habit building, through leveraging tasks and giving yourself an opportunity to be successful.
Yeah, I have found that many of us wake up in our default method, right? We wake up in our avatar. And so if you're the majority of time, if your avatar is anxious or negative or unmotivated and those kinds of things, that's how you're going to wake up. But it doesn't have to be how you continue. So you wake up in this whatever state it is, and before you decide on how you're going to judge the day, do the tasks. Before I even give my brain an option of, oh, today's going to be stupid because I feel like junk in my brain, I'm just going to say, well, all right, well, let's just see how I feel after the tasks, after the water, after the meditation, after the breath work, after the walk, after the whatever we do. And then I'll decide if this day sucks or not. And if it sucks, I'll go back to bed. And if it doesn't suck after that, I'm going to keep going. And most of the time, if we can just defer our automatic judgment of how the day is going to go until after you've completed some kind of regulation to get you out of your avatar and into your healthiest self, my version of who I want to be. You do the tasks that remind you that you're capable of it, and then you stop identifying with your avatar and you start identifying with the version of you you really are.
That is absolutely true. I'm gonna piggyback on some of the things that you said that were really enticing, that really sparked something in my brain. When you do a hard thing first thing in the morning, the first thing you do, if you pick the hardest thing that you know this is going to move the needle, just one
Mm,
thing, do that hardest thing, and that becomes your no matter what test. Because even if you don't do the other things, okay, you still have that big win, and you're starting the day, like you said, regardless of how you feel, you've already won the day. You
yeah.
woke up, you won the day because you did the hardest thing you know was so challenging for you. For me, it was working out consistently every single day. So I said, no matter what, 6 days a week, I'm going to have a rest day, but 6 days a week, I am going to work out no matter what. And on the seventh day, I'm going to stretch. So every single day I had a habit, no matter what. This is the hardest thing for me. This is my number one priority. The other things are still going to happen, but I have a win first thing. And
Mm-hmm.
that momentum going into your day, like you said, regardless of how you feel, feelings come and go. Just like everybody's like, oh, I don't feel motivated. Well, motivation comes and goes. You're not always going to be motivated, but that's
Right.
where discipline comes in. Discipline is, I don't care. Like, I don't care how I feel. I need to do this and I'm going to do this, right? And that future version of yourself, whether you want to hear this or not, doesn't care how you feel, because that future version that's waiting for you, that's disciplined and is going to do good things in the world, is going to do them regardless of how they feel. So that disciplined version of you in the future that's waiting for you, you can start today and start to build those healthy habits or whatever you're looking to do or accomplish in this world. Just get that hard thing done first thing in the morning. Have a good, healthy morning ritual that sets you up for the day, and everything starts to take care of itself.
Yeah, and we've been talking so much about mindset and about setting up your future for success and about like some of the real actionable things that you can do to make any behavior change. And the fun thing about this conversation is that it just naturally went to this direction of just mindset
Yeah.
and being mentally tough. What we started off talking about was your specific win, that this is translatable anytime you choose yourself for any reason. Lots of things can shift in your life. If you have a specific focus, of course, that's going to happen. For you, the first thing was weight loss. And so you were able to have this huge milestone in your weight loss. And I wanted to give you an opportunity to talk a little bit more about meeting that milestone for yourself.
Absolutely. Uh, it gets me choked up sometimes because it to get this far, like I didn't want, like I was like, well, sometimes I remind myself of this still, 6 years in. If I die, and because you could die anytime, I know this is kind of grim, but it's true. You could die anytime. What is the memory that you're
Mm,
leaving to the people that you care about? Sometimes that reflection, I'm not trying to be grim, but like, look, if you look at that, how do you want to be remembered?
yeah.
I didn't want to be remembered as someone who couldn't hack it, couldn't get to that point for themselves. I said, this is the hardest thing I've ever had to deal with in my life. So, do I want, if I die tomorrow, do I want to know that I tried my best to take care of the hardest thing I've ever had to deal with in my life or not?
Yeah.
And that realization, that why, kept me going and keeps me going through the days where I make a mistake, because I make mistakes. I know we're talking about all the good things, but there are plenty of hiccups along the way, and there's gonna be more. But that said, like understanding that kept me on track. If something were to happen to me, do I want to be remembered as someone who is going for it or not? And to this day, that feeling is so encouraging that it's made me continue to evolve my platform, continue to share this message with others and find ways to share it with others, hold myself accountable to sharing that message with others, because I know that if I could tackle the deepest, darkest thing that's haunted me my whole life, and that fuels my purpose. Imagine what you could do if you look at the thing that's haunted you, that's held you back, that piece of your past that's pulling you to make decisions that, maybe you could have been making better ones. And but it keeps
Mhm.
pulling you backwards. Imagine if you put in the work to solving that thing. And imagine if you share your story with others on how you did that. And imagine the effect that even if you impact one person, that person is sharing their life with 10, 20, 30 other people. And that person is going to impact those people, and those people are going to impact those people. So never say that you can't make a difference. You absolutely can.
At the core for everybody, I think this is likely true for every single person. We have an ultimate desire to be known as exactly who we are. And that really fuels this need to be authentic. And when we start to align with our authenticity, so many things can shift, whether it's weight loss, whether it's, you know, taking on a new job or realigning who you're spending time with, whether it's taking more time for yourself. All of those roads will end up leading you to being able to have a more authentic expression of yourself, which is what we want. That's the thing that we're craving. And it's the thing that we're teaching back to everybody, because it's so important for our kids, for the people around us, to be able to be expressions of their highest good so that all boats rise with the tide. So I really love that you said that. And my last question for you is, it was hard. It was the hardest thing that you've ever done. It was, in a lot of ways, emotional. You had some downside, you had some hard days. With all of that, this decision to go all in on yourself, was it worth it?
Best decision I ever made, hands down. And it's not even remotely close. Because when you get to the point to where you're doing good things for yourself and you have the energy and you could just show up for others, can't tell you how many people like that I haven't seen or haven't talked to. They message me and they're like, "Oh my God, like I just can't believe that you did that. Your journey is so inspiring to me. Like I started to take this stuff." I have people reaching out to me. I went to the gym today, like or calling me, or coworkers that are like, "Oh, I hate you. I brought my gym bag to work. It's all your fault." I like, hey, you can hate me, but you're doing better for yourself. And there's such a wholesomeness and of not validation from others, but a validation from yourself.
Yes.
Like the world is reflecting the work you're putting in, but you're
Yes.
still focused on the within.
Yes.
It's great. All of this is great, but the world starts to reflect what the work that you're doing within yourself when you do the work within yourself. And
Hmm.
I think if you come away with anything, it's that, look, if the world's not looking that peachy to you right now and things are down for you, like I get it. We've all had that. We have our days still. But when you start doing work within yourself, things start to look a little brighter. And the world you can start to perceive as a little brighter. And then you can start to make true impact to your loved ones and those around you. And then you could start to be yourself and be your truth. You could tell your stories instead of holding them within and bottling up everything inside like we're doing.
Yeah, and that's all we ever want. That's the whole message and the whole jam. Thank you so much for coming on and talking about your story and being so open and vulnerable about how hard it was for you, and then just giving all these wisdom nuggets for people that are really working towards any type of behavior change, primarily the health and wellness aspect of things. They can find you, they can take a look at what you've been going through and then really resonate with how you got there. And I really love the mindset aspect of your message. So thank you again for sharing. And I can't wait to have you back on the podcast again.
Yeah, well, thank you for the opportunity. This is amazing. I really appreciate it. So when you come to my profile and you engage with me, you're going to get authentic engagement. You're going to see an authentic profile. You're also going to get a lot of great information to help you stay on your journey. And feel free to message me anytime. I'm happy to talk to anybody. You could find me on Instagram. That's my main platform. just about to hit 13,000 followers. So I'm pretty excited about that. At butterchops underscore. I also started a Facebook group. So you can find me on Facebook at David Appelson. I have a public profile. So if you want to take a part of that Facebook group, and we'll be sharing events there with different lives we're going to be doing with different professionals as well. Professionals like you that have so much wisdom to share to the community. And I really appreciate the time that and the platform that you have, and the message that you're sending to others. It's been amazing.